So we hope you enjoyed the first episode. I thought it went quite well.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to everyone who supported us this week, reviewed it and gave us some nice comments. It's been really much appreciated here. And hope you enjoy this one just as much.
We certainly do. Let's crack on with it.
Yeah.
This week is fairly heavily football and rugby because it's coming up to the transfer deadline for the January transfer window, and in rugby, Six Nations is coming around the corner. Thick and fast it's getting. So, yeah, most of it's about football transfer news or rugby and squad news, team news, whatnot. So, yeah.
And the team's chances, of course.
England's chances of beating Wales. It's going to happen. We did it last time. We'll do it again.
We'll see.
Not worried. Anyway, we'll start off with the football. So, transfer window, Man United fan.
Yeah.
How have Man United done? Are you happy with the progress you've made? What else do you think needs to happen? Are you, how are you feeling with the overall transfer?
Well, I never really
dealings?
expected, so by anyone this month, I don't think any Man United fan really expected any massive income-ins. Obviously, the opportunity arose to sign Alexis, so that was obviously great for us. As we said last week, hasn't really worked out for Mkhitaryan with us, so it's great to see us bring in a world-class player like Alexis Sanchez. So I'm quite happy with the January business. If that is the end of it, obviously you never know with Mourinho, and if something comes available, you never know. But yeah, so far I'm really happy with what we've got. Probably the summer is probably when I'm going to next try and recruit new players.
Who's come in and out? Just for a recap, I know obviously Alexis Sanchez has come in and Mkhitaryan's left. There been any other players that have left this month, or
yeah,
might slip my radar?
Yeah, Alex Tuanzebe has gone to Aston Villa on loan, which is great news for us and for them because he's a great young talent. It's something Mourinho's been looking to try and get him game time, but obviously we've got a lot of defenders in the club, so it's been hard for him to give him that. So I think he wanted him to go out on loan and try and gain more experience, try and gain more first team football, and he can do that at Villa, especially with Villa doing quite well in the Championship. It'll help him bed into a successful side.
Certainly, we'll get him more first team minutes under
exactly,
his belt.
And hopefully playing with like some of the players he's got at Villa, like a John Terry, maybe he could learn a little bit from something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously come back to Man United in the summer stronger,
and
better player.
under a ex-Man United defender as well.
Yeah, Steve Bruce. So
it's always good, yeah.
Exactly. So it's I'm happy with our ins and outs at the moment. I don't expect anything for the transfer deadline.
So, but if you were to make a transfer before the deadline, what positions, if any, do you think desperately or most likely to be strengthened? And if you have a position in mind, do you have any targets?
Well, at the moment, obviously after getting Alexis, we look quite strong in most areas at the moment. Darmian hasn't had a very good season, so we're trying to get, I think, someone who could be a backup to Antonio Valencia would be decent. Other than that, we've been linked with Jean-Michel Seri from Nice, who I think's a very good player from what I've seen of him. So I wouldn't mind bringing in an extra midfield player like him to come in. Obviously, when we get injured,
do the Michael Carrick sort of role.
Yeah, exactly. And Michael Carrick probably going to retire at the end of the season, so it might not happen this window, but he has been linked with us, so he could end up coming in the summer. So I wouldn't mind having someone like him come in. I think another midfielder is what we do need to help compensate with obviously Matic, Pogba if they ever get any injuries. Obviously, that's Man United pretty much done. Obviously, you have to find yourself. Are you happy with this month's business?
I'm happy with the way in which we have decided to kind of go. I'm happy with the ambition we've shown. I'm not happy with the execution as of yet, because obviously Cenk Tosun has come in, and that's something that should have happened a long time ago. We never replaced Romelu Lukaku when Man United bought him in the summer. Sandro Ramirez has been a big flop this season. And it's Oumar Niasse has come in from the cold, so it's taken him time. And also with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, it's far too much pressure to put on his shoulders. So I'm happy with Tosun. I think he's someone I don't know an awful lot about, but from what I gather, he's quite well regarded with Besiktas. He was a good striker this season, scoring quite a few goals in the Turkish Super League.
Yeah,
and he's played in the Champions League, so there's good talent there. And then Theo Walcott is someone I'm mixed on. I think he has an awful lot of experience under his belt in the Premier League. He scored an awful lot of goals last season for Arsenal, and he certainly adds this injection of pace that we lack so much pace. It's ridiculous. And like you say, it's this kind of pedigree of Champions League play, being in the Champions League with Arsenal for 10 years, 12 years. And it's just the experience, similar to Wayne Rooney. But Theo Walcott still has plenty of years ahead of him. He's only 28, so that's really interesting. But there are still glaring holes in the squad that we just don't replace. And I don't know if it's it's a problem finding targets or if it's a problem securing those targets, because it seems that there are so many glaring holes and that fans agree must be strengthened, and just we don't get anything done. It's just so irritating.
Do you think, obviously, with Aaron Lennon going to Burnley, do you think you just sign a better version of him with Walcott? Or do you think it's a bit more of a... it's better than that?
I think it's more of an attacking option. Aaron Lennon, I love Aaron Lennon, and he's been good for us since we signed him from Tottenham. I can't remember how long ago it was now. Feels like ages. But Walcott's a lot more attacking-minded, I think. We saw Lennon come on against Tottenham when we were losing 2-0, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and everyone saw it as a fairly negative substitute, which you wouldn't expect from a quick winger. So I think they are similar in the sense that they can play the same position, but I think Walcott offers more going forward. So yeah, it's beneficial in that way. It's also good that we've got rid of other players like Kevin Morales, who I don't think will be very missed on Merseyside. His 6-month loan at Olympiacos, I would be more than happy if that is made permanent at the end of the season.
Is that the view of most Evertonians, would you say?
Well, I think so. I think I don't want to speak for many other people other than myself, but his inconsistencies and his poor attitude is just dreadful. I mean, he signed a contract May or June, another 3-year deal, and then in August had already got fed up of not being given opportunities and had in a transfer request. And where's the fight there? I don't want any players at the club who aren't going to fight for the thing, but I still think there's an awful lot of work to be done. A left back is so important, because
I've seen a lot on Twitter. A lot of Evertonians on Twitter moaning that they haven't got no left back with Baines injured. They've got no replacement.
We sold,
and there's not a lot of love for Cuco Martina.
It's almost been a year since we sold Brian Oviedo. We loaned out Brendan Galloway to Sunderland. We loaned out Anthony Robinson to Bolton. Luke Garbutt isn't registered in the Premier League squad. So we literally decided, right, this Premier League campaign, we've got a 32-year-old left back or 33-year-old left back. It'll be fine. We'll just stick with him and that'll be it. And then Cuco Martina's a poor right back, let alone a left back. I'm sure he's a nice bloke, but he's just useless. And we've had all these names thrown at us: Joe Bryan from Bristol City, Patrick Van Aanholt, Crystal Palace. None of them are massively inspiring, but at this point, I'll take anyone who is a natural left back, just who can do that job.
Joe Bryan looks a very good player for Bristol City, mate, this season. Obviously, against us, he had a very good game, so he's something to maybe look at.
True. He's someone who's got a lot of talent. I think he's quite highly regarded at Bristol City. The only issue is, obviously, stepping up the division. Can you do it? But over the past few years, John Stones has come from League One Barnsley. Mason Holgate can come from League One Barnsley. Dominic Calvert-Lewin come from League One Sheffield United. I think we're more than happy to spend money on these younger talents that come from lower league sides, because it's the best way to invest in future first team players who are going to become integral for us. I mean, several of those players now, John Stones in the past, were so important for us. So yeah, I think it's a good move. But there are just we could do with another central midfielder.
That's what I was going to ask you. Obviously, Seamus Coleman's making his way back now from his leg break as a obviously for your right back, but obviously James McCarthy has just now obviously broken his leg, which was complete accidental with Solomon Rondon. But do you think you need to buy another midfielder now to replace James McCarthy?
I think we do, because I think James McCarthy, for the last 2 years, has been on the periphery of the first team. He was so integral under Roberto Martinez, and then he just disappeared. He couldn't find the same form that he had when he struck up a partnership with Gareth Barry. But since he come back this season, the last month or so, he's looked really, really sharp, really tenacious in midfield, and he's added this steel that we don't have from Idrissa Gana Gueye and Morgan Schneiderlin, especially this season, because they're just not on their top form. And then we have people like Mohamed Besic, but he can't seem to nail himself down. Davy Klaassen is really struggling this season. So we certainly do, and we're linked with people like Leander Dendoncker from Anderlecht, Steven Nzonzi from Sevilla. All these midfield, just one of them would be great. If we could get Steven Nzonzi in, then I'd be over the moon, and we can see some of these players like the Davy Klaassens move out and try and get some game time under the belt. In short, I think there's an awful lot of players, the likes of Besic and Klaassen and maybe Sandro on loan, that I would be happy to see leave on loan, so long as we can bring in other players as well. And we certainly need a left back. We could probably do with a midfielder, and a centre half would be nice, because we've got Phil Jagielka, Ashley Williams, both on the wrong side of 30. Michael Keane is struggling a little bit this season. Mason Holgate is still fairly inexperienced, and he's been our best centre back this season. And the Ramiro Funes Mori isn't back until maybe the end of this season, probably the beginning of next season. So we really could do with another one at the back who can just give us this little bit of solidity and help us out because we're going for a little bit of a rough patch at the moment.
Do you feel Davy Klaassen and Sandro can feel hard done by though with the chances they've had? Because I feel like Davy Klaassen maybe could show a bit of class if he had the opportunity to play more games.
I think Davy Klaassen especially. Sandro, Sam Allardyce said a couple of weeks ago that Sandro has never been dropped by him. Sandro has dropped himself because every opportunity he's been given, he just hasn't done it. He looks energetic and sharp and he puts in a lot of effort, but he doesn't have that kind of clinical finish. And I think it doesn't help that his confidence is rock bottom. His confidence is shot to pieces, and it really does affect his game. But certainly David Klaassen, I think, whenever he's played, he hasn't been inspiring, but sometimes players take longer to adapt than others to the Premier League, and you need to give them an extended run in the team. The issue with that is the precarious position Everton are in the league. We can't afford to have passengers that aren't going to do a job, even though it's not fair to say that's unwarranted. But until we can be sure of ourselves that we're in a comfortable position, we can't afford to, which is why possibly David Klaassen will end up going out on loan to a club in Turkey or Italy or something like that and getting some minutes under his belt. Although there was an offer, according to Italian sources, Everton offered Klaassen in a straight swap for Marcelo Brozovic of Inter Milan yesterday, 2 days ago. So I think that's an interesting move. I don't know what they're going to do with him really, but I'm excited to see the final end of the season, and more importantly, I'm excited to get the season over with and start the next one.
Yeah. So overall, would you be quite happy with how the transfer's gone, the window? Or do you need a left back to make it a good window?
A left back will make it a good window, yeah. Otherwise, we're just selling ourselves short. But it's nice to see us spend money, and hopefully, it helps our league position at the end of the season.
Obviously, sticking with transfers now. Obviously, we've explained our clubs. We want to talk about the newly promoted sides and. Have they done enough in order to stay up with their transfer dealings, and obviously how they're doing in the league this season as well? Obviously, Newcastle have just signed Kennedy on loan from Chelsea. What do you make of that signing, and how Newcastle can go for the rest of the season?
I think it's interesting because whenever Kennedy has played for Chelsea, he's shown obvious signs that he has this quality in there. But he's so inconsistent, and his attitude is so temperamental. It begs the question that if Rafa Benitez doesn't favour the likes of John Joe Shelby because of his mental headspace, then I'm not quite sure how Kennedy will perform. But if he can realise his potential, then he's got bags and bags of quality, and he'll add a different dimension to the way Newcastle play. And God knows they need to. At the moment, they very much feel like a team of championship players that are clinging for dear life. They're not in the relegation zone.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they're not in the relegation zone, but they really could do with a little bit of star quality. What do you think?
I feel Kennedy's a good signing for them. Obviously, they need more of an attacking threat, because if most of the games, when they do get points, it's normally either 1-0 wins or 0-0 draws.
Especially when people that were so good in previous seasons, like Dwight Gale.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he started.
Dried up.
Yeah, obviously he started today as well, and they lost 3-0 to Chelsea, which you kind of expect, but apparently they did an awful lot going forward.
Yeah.
So I think they do need more signings, but obviously there's a question over the ownership, and obviously does Mike Ashley want to spend any money, which obviously clearly he doesn't if he's trying to sell the club. So that's an issue obviously Newcastle and their fans have had for the last couple of years. And I think they probably will stay up. I think Benitez is a good enough manager to set them on. They got a decent amount of players that can keep them up. But it's going to be close, I think. They're going to be there or thereabouts. So
I definitely think they'll need a striker, otherwise they could be in trouble. Alexander Mitrovic wants to leave the club. Brighton have had a bid rejected. It seems like he's definitely going to leave. And at the moment they're looking at Nikolai Jorgensen from Feyenoord, and that would be a transfer record for the club. Their record is still Michael Owen back in the day. So they have.
That shows how much money they've spent.
It really does show how much they haven't had to spend, and it will cost them a surplus of 20 million.
You can understand why Newcastle fans are frustrated, obviously with Ashley on the board.
What about some of the other clubs?
Well, stay with Brighton. Obviously, you say looking for a striker. Obviously, they had a bid rejected with Mitrovic. Obviously, they brought in Locadia from.
Jurgen Locadia.
Yeah, brought him in from the Eredivisie with I can't remember the club now. PSV. Is it PSV?
Yeah.
PSV Eindhoven. And obviously, what do you make of that signing? He scored obviously a few goals, but obviously we've seen a lot in recent seasons, people coming from the Eredivisie and struggling to adapt to the Premier League, and not regaining the same form they had.
David Klaassen's one.
Exactly.
David Klaassen's one. Vincent Janssen for Tottenham last year, season before.
I think
he'd
be the perfect example. Vincent Janssen, obviously, he scored a lot of goals.
He didn't score a lot of goals. He scored so many goals. He was influential. Yeah. On the surface, it's a good sign. It's a good signing. He's a decent player. They've broken their transfer record for him, which means they're obviously quite confident that he can do the business. But the same by doing that, they've seemingly turned away attention from other targets. They were linked with Moussa Dembele earlier on in the window, in late December as well. So I would imagine if they've broken the transfer record on Locadia, they're probably not going to go back for the likes of Dembele. But yeah, I like Brighton. I think they play good football. Chris Hughton's a good manager.
Agree with that.
They've got an awful lot of talent. Some good young players as well, like Solly March and Lewis Dunk and Shane Duffy at the back. I think they've got a good squad. I think they'll be all right. It's just injecting little bits of quality where they can, just to plug up little gaps.
Do you think they'll stay up?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I would be more inclined to think. I would be more inclined to say that Brighton stay up than the other two. Newcastle have the ability with the manager, but they need investment. Whereas I think Brighton will be all right.
Yeah, obviously the other club is Huddersfield. Obviously they made a couple of signings with Alex Pritchard.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, Alex Pritchard and
Terence Congola.
Yeah, from Monaco.
Congola from Monaco, Pritchard from Norwich. Yeah.
So obviously they broke the record for Alex Pritchard as well. I think it was £11 million maybe. What do you think of those two signings? And now maybe they'll fit in and help Huddersfield try and stay up, because obviously they have a good manager and obviously they're doing quite well in the league this season. I feel like then out of the three of them, they probably have the best chance. Obviously, when you say Brighton, I think Huddersfield do. I think they're really good at home, and I think the Gaffer is a really good manager. They have a good enough squad, I think, to stay up. And obviously, Alex Pritchard's a decent little player. Obviously, ex-Spurs, and Congolo obviously played with a club like Monaco, which will obviously bring extra quality to the club.
Before that, he was quality in the Eredivisie.
Exactly. So I want to see what you thought on Huddersfield's situation.
Yeah, Huddersfield are interesting because an awful lot of their players I hadn't heard of before the season in terms of their signings they've made, and they've been really impressive. The likes of is it Mooney up front?
Yes,
and Depoitre.
Yeah,
that come from Belgium. Or
yeah,
Portugal. Cool. He was in Belgium a long time ago anyway, that's all I know. But I think there's an awful lot of these players that I can't really explain too much about. So I don't know. I don't know if they can collapse. But what I would suggest is they sign more experienced Premier League players, because at the moment they're doing okay. But there's not a lot of experience in the squad. I think any and all experience would be so important, especially when you're getting into the final stages. And if they have a bit of a slump and they start slipping down the positions, the last thing you want is all these inexperienced players to kind of think, oh my God, what we're going to do? We're on a slump. We're sliding down the league table. How do we get out of it? You want a couple of players that could probably help boost that. So I'm not quite sure about individual positions, but just whatever they can get would be massive for them, I think. But yeah, Pritchard and Congolo are great signings. Pritchard was good for Norwich in the Championship, one of their best players. And like you say, Congolo's got this wealth of experience behind him, so I think they're really good signings.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a few other deals happened this transfer window recently.
Yeah, these are just a couple of random Premier League ones we picked up on. Just to discuss whether you think they're any good or not.
Probably the biggest one out of the lot would be Juan Mario to West Ham. Even though it's only on loan, obviously it could be made permanent in the summer. If it comes to it. Obviously, he was really good for Portugal in the Euros. Obviously, he seemed to have struggled in Inter Milan. Obviously they got rid of him. That's why clearly he's on loan. He struggled there. He struggled to settle. Do you think he might be able to get back to his best form at West Ham?
Yeah, I think he can do. Yeah, I think an awful lot of people struggle at Inter Milan, but it's not something that's abnormal. Xherdan Shaqiri was poor at Inter Milan. Gianelli Mbula was poor at Inter Milan. Jeffrey Knodogbia was poor at Inter Milan. They do seem to take on these big players for big money and then struggle and then just kind of ship them out quickly. And they're under tough financial fair play regulations anyway, so they need to get players off their wage books as much as possible. So it doesn't necessarily mean West Ham signing João Mario that there has been a big hit to his career. In terms of who he is as a player, he's fantastic. He was good at the Euros. He's been fantastic in Portugal. I think West Ham have had a good coup there really to get him to sign on, because there was talk before that he wasn't interested, because obviously you'd think he would aim for a higher club at the league table. But that's really good from David Moyes, I think.
And I guess money talked in that situation.
Certainly does, yeah. It certainly does.
Another big money signing, Southampton signing Korea from Monaco for about £19 million.
What do you think about this one then?
Well, they've struggled for goals this season overall. As you said before, Pellegrino is quite a defensive manager when they signed him from La Liga. So, it's shown in the league this season. They've been quite defensive, not scored that many goals. So if you're signing some of the quality Carrillo has and the experience he has, obviously playing Champions League football, playing with a club as good as Monaco, obviously with Falcao as well, probably learning from him. I think it's a great signing for them. Obviously, paying 90 million though, you've got to hope he puts the goods in on the pitch. Otherwise, obviously, it's going to be a waste of money. Because obviously they're struggling this season, either in the relegation zone or just outside of it. So I think right now it's a good signing. I think they need to add a couple more players though, an extra bit of quality to their side. So at the moment their best players ain't turning up. People like Dusan Tadic needs to play more, be more consistent. Nathan Redmond, they all need to up their game a bit more.
Nathan Redmond particularly is someone I've really enjoyed watching over the years, and he's been quite poor this season. He hasn't been entertaining to watch at all, and he hasn't been doing the goods. He's had no final product, and it's been really poor, especially when you're putting too much pressure on the likes of Manolo Gabbiadini, who is still... I know he had a good spell at the end of last season, but he's still adjusting to the Premier League. Shane Long, I don't know what he is. He's not really a striker. I don't know what he is. He doesn't score goals. I don't know how you can run around up front, but if you're not scoring goals, you're not a striker. But yeah, I think they could do with a bit more tenacity in midfield. You know, over the past few years when they had Morgan Schneiderlin, they had Victor Wanyama, they've had these big, powerful midfielders, and they don't really have that at the moment. They have Oriol Romeu, who is an okay midfielder. He's fine. But other players have struggled in the position. Stephen Davis doesn't play as much as he probably should do. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is,
hasn't settled probably as well as they'd hoped either.
Yeah, I think they could do with a couple more. Just to solidify things.
So I was at the Man United Southampton game at Old Trafford just before New Year's, and you could see they defensively they were quite solid. Obviously we had a couple of chances as you'd expect, but the general organisation they were good. Shane Long runs his socks off, does a job for the team, but as you say, he's not clinical enough. He doesn't
score the goals, and at the end of the day, that's what you need to do.
Exactly. So I feel they do need. I think Carrillo will help them with that going forward, and hopefully they need to try and get another creative midfield player in. I'd say to help them create more. Obviously, going forward, as I said.
You have two more a bit more obscure ones now.
Yeah.
Which people might not know too much about. I'll start with the one that I know very little about at all. Erdal Rakip signed for Crystal Palace. He's just been bought from Malmo by Benfica, and they've shipped him off to England for 6 months.
Yeah.
Do you think of what do you think of that one, or do you know much about him? Because I mean, to me, he's a bit of a mystery.
Funnily enough, obviously last week I had to do a little article on him while we were in university, and he was good from the Malmo Academy. He had a good spell there. He won 4 league titles in 5 years. Obviously shown a great box-to-box skills. The Benfica decided to pay money for him. Obviously, he went over there. Obviously, the manager don't think he's ready yet to step into the Benfica first team. So he decided to obviously loan him out to Crystal Palace for 6 months and hope he can gain some more experience, toughen up in midfield, and come back a better player.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for him, especially if he's not ready for Benfica, because Palace have gone through a revival under Roy Hodgson. They're looking quite good, and they're making some decent signings. They're also after Vincente Gaeta from Getafe, who's a decent keeper. So yeah, I think that's a good move for him. Although I don't know much about what his qualities are personally. I've never heard of him until I saw the transfer last week. But the other one that I have heard of, which an awful lot of people haven't, is Kostas Staphylidis, who's joined Stoke.
Yeah, left back.
Greek left back from Augsburg. Back in the day when he was at Bayer Leverkusen, he was on loan with Fulham the season they were their first season in the Championship after getting relegated from the Premier League. Played a lot for them, was okay. Do Stoke need another left back? Is that something that because for me,
Eric Peters is a decent player.
He's always consistently the same. I don't know if that's good or bad or not, but he's always at the same level.
But clearly, since obviously, I'm not sure if it was when Mark Hughes was there as well, or just since Paul Lammers took over, they've looked at obviously fullbacks. Because obviously they signed Bauer, I was to say it from the Bundesliga as obviously a new right back, and obviously now Staphylidis as a left back. So that was obviously somewhere they target, obviously because they have quite a strong centre backs. With obviously they've got Kevin Wimmer, Kurt Zouma, Ryan Shawcross. I think they're strong in that area, but they were looking to obviously strengthen their fullback area, which they clearly have done. Apparently he's got a good left foot, Staphylidis. He scores some goals, he likes to get forward, but in an interview he said himself his first job's defending, so I think it could be a good signing for Stoke, especially in an area they wanted to strengthen.
It's also interesting on positive of Stoke that Paul Lambert is making an impact as soon as he comes in.
Win the first game.
He's been appointed at a very poor time, really. I know it's difficult for the club. They need to make the decision as soon as possible. But it's difficult for a manager coming in. You have to reassess your squad quickly, and then you have to make signings in half a window. So yeah, I think it shows that he's keen to leave his imprint on this team that he's already brought in. 2 fullbacks, obviously change the way that Stoke will play, going from the back. It's interesting to see what Stoke will be like when all these players start to gel, and when Paul Lambert leaves his imprint on the team.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah, there's not much else to add to that, to be honest. I think I agree with you. Paul Lambert's obviously done a good job to start with, and I think he's hopefully going to try and build on that.
Well then, we'll move on to the next topic, which is Liverpool. Well, not Liverpool. I don't want to talk about Liverpool.
Well, none of us really want to talk about Liverpool.
No, yeah, true. We're probably the most anti-Liverpool podcast.
Actually, after yesterday, I'm quite happy to talk about Liverpool.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. It's a good point. I wouldn't mind that at all. Unlucky lads.
West Brom too
the
good.
point is, Liverpool have made the biggest splash this transfer window. They've signed Virgil van Dijk for £75 million. They sold Felipe Coutinho for £142 million. So they've had the biggest incoming and outgoing out of the Premier League sides. Do you see any more big deals coming in, or do you think that's about it? Because January window's a difficult one to negotiate with.
Before I go on to that, obviously after looking yesterday, you could say they signed Van Dijk £75 million and they still can't defend. But yeah, I don't see many big deals happening up between now and the deadline. There's not much going around really, other than Aubameyang maybe to Arsenal is probably one of the only biggest deals could see coming in.
Or Laporte.
Laporte. Yeah, completely forgot that. Another team I don't really want to talk about.
We'll touch on those in a minute anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't see many big deals happening other than maybe those two in the Premier League. Obviously, Sturridge could move abroad from Liverpool on loan to either Inter Milan or Sevilla. Another rumour. So I'm not really sure, to be honest. There's not a lot of big deals flying about as there used to be. But if Aubameyang does go through, and so does obviously Sturridge going abroad and Laporte coming in, obviously it's going to be quite an interesting end to.
We'll just touch on those now. Actually, we'll do some of the other bits of it in a minute. But what do you think about those signings, in particular Laporte? Because Man City have been so good this season, and other players like John Stones and Nico Otamendi have really upped their game and have been quite influential at the back for Man City with Vincent Kompany. Never really reliable enough fitness-wise. Do you think Laporte would be a good signing? And
yeah, I think it'd be a very good signing. He's
£57 million. He'd be Man City's record.
He was obviously looking for a big move a couple of years ago, but he sadly broke his leg at the time. So obviously he's got his way back to fitness.
He rejected Man City last summer.
Yeah, he got his way back to fitness.
Summer 2016. That is not just the summer gone.
Started performing well, obviously for Bilbao again, and obviously now I think he's ready to make that step up to a bigger club. Obviously Man City are looking to strengthen the defence, because even though obviously they're clearly ahead in the Premier League, that's somewhere they still need to strengthen because they're not obviously that great in that area. Otamendi's had a great season, which is surprising after the last couple of years because he hasn't been the best. John Stones, I think he's not been as good as everyone would hope since he's moved to City. I think he's struggled a little bit this season when they have teams have been attacking them. So I think if someone's going to get dropped out of those two, it's going to be Stones. I think he'll play Laporte and Otamendi. Obviously, you've got Kyle Walker then, who's another £50 million. Right, so somebody he's looked to strengthen. Obviously, Mendy as well, another big signing. It's somebody I think Guardiola's come in and realised that's the issue, and that's where they're spending their money on.
It's getting to the point though, with if Laporte comes in, Man City will have a £200 million back four. Mendy costs over 50 million, as did Kyle Walker. Stones cost just under, and Laporte is meant to cost 57.
And you can include Edison as well. It's 250 million, nearly 250 million.
And then if you're looking at the substitutes bench, Otamendi costs over 30 million. So did Elakim Mangala. So that's an expensive defensive unit.
Then you just got Vincent Kompany for 6 million.
One of the best ones.
He's probably the best one. Yeah. He's fit. Yeah, and obviously talking about Aubameyang as well to Arsenal. I want to get what your thoughts on that.
I think it's a really good idea because Aubameyang's someone who's been linked with moves to Real Madrid, Barcelona, PSG for years. AC Milan back in the summer because that's where he come from. He come from their academy, and I think it's difficult. I struggle. Sometimes I struggle to understand what it's like to support a German side because Borussia Dortmund have one of the best best support in all of the league, but it's just. At the moment, it's just Bayern Munich. Everything's Bayern Munich. All of the top talent go to Bayern Munich.
Yeah, they just signed Goretzka.
They've just signed Leon Goretzka. In previous years, they've signed Sebastian Rudy, Niklas Süle, Mats Hummels. All of the players that are performing well at all these different clubs just get sucked up into this big,
and
vast of good players at Bayern Munich.
Half the time, he seems to be on a free as well, which doesn't really make sense.
So I think it's difficult for someone like Aubameyang really to push himself to the limit because he knows, are you going to win the Bundesliga? Probably not. No, Bayern Munich are going to win it. So. What trophy is going to compete for? And I think Arsenal are desperate for a striker. For years, they've been linked with a top striker, Karim Benzema, and Gonzalo Higuain. They finally made a big move this summer with Alexander Lacazette, and he's struggled, but naturally people find it difficult. And he's still a good player. I think he can still come into his own. But especially if they've lost Alexis Sanchez, that is their main attacking outlet. And Aubameyang is quick, he's tall, he's strong, he's got good feet. I think he'd be a really good signing no matter where they want to play him. He really has all the attributes. And as far as money's concerned, he's not going to break the bank. I think Borussia Dortmund are looking for about £70 million for him, and that's a lot of money, but it's not absurd. It's not 142 million for Felipe Coutinho, which is absolutely insane. So yeah. I think it's a fantastic move for Arsenal if they can get it done.
Another reason why I think it could be a good move, obviously, be reunited with Henrik Mkhitaryan, or when they were at Dortmund together. When they were at Dortment together, they created and scored so many goals.
One of the best assisting midfielders in Europe.
Mkhitaryan had the most assists in Europe of any player, and a lot of them was to Aubameyang scoring the goals. So I think that's a great decision by Wenger to bring in Mkhitaryan, obviously with the Sanchez deal, and then Aubameyang if they can get that over the line to reunite, and obviously you've got Lacazette there as well. So I think Arsenal will be a force to be reckoned with going forward if they can get that deal over the line. Obviously their issue has always been defending, and that's what their fans would see, and that's what they're going to try.
I certainly think as well it would ease the pressure on Alexander Lacazette, because at the moment with Olivier Giroud, he never can seem to nail himself down in his team, and then Danny Welbeck's fitness is shaky, and he seems to find himself being played out wide or different positions. So at the moment Lacazette is their only true striker that they everyone hangs their hat on, and I think if they had someone like Aubameyang, it would help ease the pressure, which could in turn bring out some confidence in the Frenchman himself, and he could, you imagine a striking duo of the two of them if they were to change their formation a little bit and play two strikers up front. That's so much potential there.
Exactly. It's the same with the striker thing. Obviously Chelsea, they've been linked with a host of strikers. I think every day is a different striker. Peter Crouch at one point.
At the moment. Ashley Barnes.
Yeah,
it's comical.
I think you were next, to be honest, on the list. But it's been they've linked with so many. It's different one every day. Obviously, it looks like they're finally going to get their one with Ed and Dzeko. What do you think of that signing? And do you think that will end up going through?
Really, really, really good signing. I can't believe they went to Peter Crouch and Ashley Barnes before Edin Dzeko. It's just absurd. Edin Dzeko was always a good player for Man City. He's been fantastic since he signed for Roma, even though he's on the wrong side of 30. Great signing. It's meant to be part of a double deal with Roma for Emerson Palmieri, and he's one of the most highly rated fullbacks in Europe at the moment. And they need support at the back for Marcos Alonso, who's playing almost every single game in every competition at the moment. So yeah, that double deal, 50 odd million, 55 million, that would be great. If they get that done, then I think that's a really smart acquisition on their part. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel like you said, it's a really good signing. Obviously, he's Premier League proven. Obviously, he's done the job for City for a couple of years. I was just, I wouldn't say disappointed.
Bundesliga winning back when Bayern Munich weren't undefeatable.
Yeah. Obviously, he was good for City. I was surprised to see him leave City at the time when he did leave. He's continued that form with Roma, scoring goals for fun every season. I think it's a great decision by Chelsea, because obviously Morata is hot and cold at the moment all the time. Obviously he keeps getting little injuries as well. So I think it's someone that they can always bring in and they can rely on to score goals and to play well. And I've said with the Palmieri deal, like I said, one of the most exciting youngsters in Europe. So I feel he'd be a good replacement for Alonso in maybe the cup competitions, or when they need to give Alonso a rest.
Just similar to what I said about Arsenal, Dzeko would also ease the pressure on Morata, because at the moment Michy Batshuayi, his future's constantly being scrutinised, and whether he's going to be at Chelsea long term or not. And when he does play, if he doesn't score, he seems to be criticised for not scoring, which is people are. I'm a big fan of Michy Batshuayi. Everton were linked with him back in the day, and I think he gets criticised a bit too much. So basically, everyone wants Morata to score, or else we're in trouble. So I think Dzeko, not only does he offer a different dimension, a different way of playing, if you want to play more direct, he offers that. He can hold the ball up a little bit better than Morata can. He just eases the pressure. So yeah, it would be a really smart signing for me. Yeah, I think that'd be a good one.
Another rumoured deal is Lucas Moura to Tottenham. How do you fancy that going through?
Lucas Moura would be.
He was linked with us at the start of the window.
See, here's the issue I have with Lucas Moura, because I think on paper, yes. You look at Eric Lamela, hasn't played very much this season. Musa Sissoko, I'll get there, is not the strongest winger. Thank God, touch wood, Everton don't go back in for him. I think he would be really good on paper. But the issue is, Man United were linked with him earlier in the window, but the other clubs that were linked with him at the same time were all significantly lower clubs in terms of how good their squads are. And it does beg the question that if PSG are making him available for purchase, why there aren't more big clubs going in? Because back in the day, before he went to PSG, when he chose PSG over Man United, he was a really talented youngster, quick, strong, good with both his feet. It's just, I find it interesting. On paper, fantastic, but in real life, I'm not quite sure. What do you think?
I feel it's worth a punt because they're not asking for stupid money.
How much are they asking for?
I think they're asking for 30 million.
That's not too bad.
So, if that, maybe even less. It was
Less
someone
than
I wouldn't.
Less than Mrs. is okay.
Before the Sanchez deal came through, obviously I would have been happy to sign Lucas Moura. I think as a right winger, we needed someone like that mould. So I would have been happy to have signed him. Obviously after signing Sanchez, we don't really need him now. So for Spurs, I think it'd be a great sign. They need someone to play on the right wing. They don't really have anyone at the moment, as you said, with Lamella's injury. Sissoko, a lot of Spurs fans obviously ain't a fan of. He doesn't seem to do the job. So I think Lucas Moura would be a great sign for someone like Spurs. He has obviously he's won titles, so he has that experience. He's played Champions League football. He's got that experience. He's just got plenty of experience. And last season, he actually did have decent stats. Obviously, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure he was involved in over 20 goals for PSG last season. So I don't see why someone like Spurs should not buy them.
True. I think we seem to be running over a little bit on the football talk. So
Yeah,
we'll wrap this little bit up really quickly. Two players, both been linked with Man United and Man City, both midfielders. Fred from Shakhtar Donetsk and Jean-Michel Seri from Lille. Nice. Michael Carrick is on the way out. Marouane Fellaini possibly that contract over summer.
Yeah.
Fernandinho isn't going to be around forever for Man City. Yaya Toure is obviously coming to the end of his time. Good signings.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of Fred. I don't really know a lot about him. I've seen a bit more of Jean-Michel Seri. I've been really impressed with what I've seen of him, and it's someone I wouldn't mind obviously signing in the summer, or if we can this January transfer window, but I don't see that happening. So yeah, I'm not really sure about Fred that much. So if I was going to have to pick between one or the other, I would go with Jean-Michel Seri, because I think he's a very good player. What do you think? Have you seen much Fred or Seri?
I haven't seen much of Fred, but from what I gather, he is similar to Seri, but he gets forward a bit more. He's stronger at it, in midfield. But I don't think there's an awful lot of difference. And the one difference would be Fred will cost an awful lot more money, around £50 million. I think Shakhtar are looking for, whereas Seri won't cost quite as much. But Seri's really good. There's a reason why he's been coveted by so many clubs,
including Barcelona.
Barcelona pulled out last minute.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were close to signing him says a lot about the talent he has. Everton were linked at some point this summer, this month. I think that's kind of been blown out of the water by all the other interest. But no, I think both players will be really good signings for the clubs, and they're definitely it's a necessary position long term to replace. Yeah.
Fire alarm, maybe. Sorry about that. The fire alarm, obviously, we had to leave. But
bit inconvenient.
Yeah, very inconvenient for it. But we're back now. And
let's crack on with the final thing we're going to talk about, which is the Six Nations.
So, obviously, England got Italy, Wales got Scotland. I just want to see what you think England's chances are, obviously, against Italy and the rest of the Six Nations. And obviously, most of the teams are struggling with injuries at Six Nations. So I was wondering how do you see England lining up with the injuries they have? I'm
really quite confident because we usually do quite well in the Six Nations. We didn't do very well in the World Cup in 2015, but other than that, last year Six Nations was alright. Beat you.
Well, won the Grand Slam obviously a year before, and obviously won Six Nations last year. But we did lose to Ireland last year, so
we did. We beat Wales, so that's important. I'm really quite confident. There's an awful lot of injuries at the moment, suspensions as well for Haskell and Marler, so we're missing a few people for the opening game against Italy. But Italy aren't the strongest of opponents. If it was Ireland or even Wales, I might feel a little bit more apprehensive. But against Italy, I'm quite confident.
Would you give any youngster, not necessarily youngsters, but some new players into the squad a chance against someone like Italy, if you think it's going to be an easy game?
I would not for me. I think I'd rather be as strong as possible and try and get the points on the board. Obviously, in some positions, we might need to try out some more inexperienced players due to injury, like at number 8, for instance, which I'll get onto that in a minute. But yeah, I'd rather just try and get the points on the board as soon as possible, really. How are you approaching your first? Not with your lineup yet, but what do you think about Wales' chances in general, and how you're feeling looking forward to the first game against Scotland?
Well, I think with myself and a lot of Welsh fans, there's a mixed feeling. Obviously, we've got a lot of injuries. We've got about 5 Lions players out. We've got about over 10 injuries. So yeah, so we're not sure if obviously that's going to obviously it's going to hinder us in some positions, but in others it might give the chance of players we've always wanted to see play in those positions play. It's difficult, to be honest. I think against Scotland's going to be a very tough game. We've got a lot of injuries, but they are struggling in the front row. They've got a lot of front row injuries. I think other than their first choice hooker, they got their 5th and 6th choice after that as backups. Okay. So I think it's McAnally, if he got injured, they'd be struggling. So I feel that's something we need to target against Scotland. If we target the pack, so because we got obviously our front 3 is probably going to be a Scarlet's front row. So that's something we need to target: the scrummage and the lineouts. Yeah, I'm quite confident overall. I think we can do better than we did last year. Obviously,
where did you place last year?
We finished 5th, or either 4th or 5th. 5th, I think, last year. I think Scotland finished first last year because they beat us. I think I was in Benidorm on Stag at the time.
That's all you remember, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what we were watching it in a pub. But yeah, it's I think we've got to be better than last year. If it's not better than last year, then Gatland's going to
have some questions to answer. Yeah.
A lot of questions to answer, especially with the World Cup so soon in a couple of years' time. But yeah, overall, I think we can. If it could depend on the start against Scotland. If we beat Scotland, that'll just give us a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence.
First game's always really important.
Exactly, it gives us a lot of confidence. A lot of confidence heading into the second game, which is against England, which is probably the biggest game of the Six Nations for myself and you. I wonder. I don't think one of us will be turning up for the following podcast that week, depending on the result.
But I'll be here.
We'll see. I'm going to say quiet because I'm not sure how it's going to go. But yeah, I'm quietly confident overall. I think, not saying we're going to win it, but I think we're confident we can at least challenge.
Certainly do better than you did last time.
I think it all depends on how Gatland goes with selection. If he goes with what everyone hopes he'll go with, we could do quite well. If he goes back to old as he used to, then obviously we're just going backwards and it's not going to work. So yeah, I'm quietly confident heading into it.
I like it. What do you have a 15 in mind, or?
Yeah, obviously every Welsh fan has their own mind what they want to see as 15, and if you disagree or agree with mine, let me know on Twitter or in our comments down below.
Abuse.
Yeah, just anything you want to say, give us a comment down below. But I'd like to see obviously our front row be the Scarlet front row, which I think most people would agree with. Rob Evans, Ken Owens, Samson Lee. Obviously Alun Jones would be in the second row, captain. I'd like to see Aaron Shingler move into the second row, which a lot of people might disagree with. I feel he can play there, and it'll add us we got a lot of depth in the back row, and it'll give us an extra position where you can put another player in. And then it's difficult in the back row then, obviously, because we have got Faletau injured. So number 8, they'd probably go with Josh Navidi, as Ross Moriarty hasn't as much game time since he's come back from injury as I would have liked to head into Six Nations, so I'd probably go with Josh Navidi there. I'd love to see James Davis play. I think he's been the best 7 in the country for the last 2 or 3 years. I know he plays for Scarlets, which might say bias, but he has been. So I'd love to see him play with us. Obviously he's not a 6, but if that means he gets to play, if Tipurick's playing 7, I would not mind that at all. Obviously Tipurick's a very good player, so I wouldn't mind seeing Davis, Tipurick and Navidi play in the back row. Obviously Rhys Webb's injured, but I would have went with Gareth Davis anyway, as Rhys Webb can't play for Wales after the Six Nations because he's moving abroad, and obviously he hasn't got 60 caps, so I'd like to see Gareth Davis play there. Obviously his partner at the Scarlets as well, Patchell, obviously with Bigger out injured as well. That was another injury, surprise. I'd like to see Rhys Patchell play 10. Obviously he's in great form this season. He could have been an option at fullback. He's obviously played the last couple of games in Europe for Scarlets at fullback and been exceptional. Obviously the centres then, again, more Scarlets with Scott Williams and Natalie Parks, but I think
it's convenient this.
But I think that is what is needed, and I think what a lot of people might go with, unless a lot of people might say play Owen Williams at 12, which he did in the autumn, which is a different option if you want to go that way, but with them two in the form they're in, I think it's difficult to drop either. And then we've got Steph Evans coming back from suspension. I'd bring on the one wing. I'd probably play Hallam Amos if he's fit at fullback to give us an attacking dimension over someone like Leaf Penn, who might be a bit more solid. And then on the other wing you've got Josh Adams, who would also an uncapped player, but he's scoring tries for fun for Worcester. He even scored this weekend. I think he scored twice this weekend actually for Worcester, so he's in great form heading into the Six Nations. So that's the 15 I'd love to see go with. I'm not sure, obviously, it's probably not going to be the 15, but I'd like to see what everyone else thinks as well. As I said, just let us know on Twitter at UTF_podcast, or let us know in the comment section down below.
Or your personal handle.
Or my personal handle at Luos_Gavin.
LWOS, if you didn't get that.
Yeah.
English speakers, because the accent just makes that.
Yeah. Just let us know what you think. Obviously, what would you go with for England against Italy? You're 15.
So my 15, I'm speaking as someone who doesn't watch rugby regularly, club level. So certain players might not be on form, and there might be decisions in here that are absolutely ludicrous to an awful lot of people. But
again, let me know.
Let me know.
Let me know.
At Cuffwright, CUFFWRITES. As someone who just watches England play when England play, I don't know an awful lot, but this is what I would go with anyway. England, I've written it down because my memory is poor. England have got a lot of injuries and suspensions. Joe Marler and James Haskell missing through suspension, and then there's a catalogue of injuries they've got at the moment. So the team is makeshift in certain areas. My front row is probably the strongest front row England have at the moment, which is Maka Vunipola and Dan Cole as number 1 and number 3 props. And then the hooker would be Jamie George, because I think Jamie George was good when he played for the Lions. It was a big sign, really, that he was taken to the Lions as opposed to Dylan Hartley, who stayed and took part in the tour of Argentina. I think Hartley is someone who I've been a big defender of in past years. You've criticised him a lot.
Yeah.
I've defended him, but I'm starting to see the light now a little bit.
I feel like the right decision now is to bring Jamie George into the starting lineup.
He's the clear choice in my opinion. Anyway, second row, it's Moura Itoje, but he's someone who is potentially injured. He's got a hip injury at the moment, so he could be available. If he is available, then certainly he starts as number 4. If he's not, then Courtney Laws comes in for me. But either way, whichever one plays will be partnering Joe Launchbury. I think they're the best options. Second row.
Joe Launchbury's got to play for me.
Who have I got? My flankers are former captain Chris Robshaw and Sam Underhill, and my final member of the scrum is a new boy, Simmons. I think it's a toss up between him and Mercer, both with Nathan Hughes and Billy Vunipola injured, and Simmons is the one who
Simmons been in great form for Exeter this season, so I think
he's the one who makes the most sense, and hopefully he can do a job. It's a big ask just to throw him in at the deep end, but I think he wouldn't have been picked by Eddie Jones if he didn't believe he had the necessary quality. So I'm hoping he does a job. And then we have
in your back line. How do you go with that?
We have Youngs at scrum half. It's a toss up between him and Danny Kerr.
I
think
a lot of England fans will go between one or the other.
Yeah, I think it just makes more sense to stick with Youngs. Ford at number 10, and Farrell and Jonathan Josephs at the centres, inside and outside. My wing would be who have I got on the left?
This is what everyone's questioning, obviously, with the wings and fullbacks.
Yeah. See, I got Johnny May as number 11 on the wing. That one I think is not as contentious as the other one. Mike Brown is struggling with fitness at the moment, and as you've said, possibly form as well. People are seemingly suggesting that Anthony Watson plays at fullback.
Yeah.
But I would keep Anthony Watson on the wing because I'm a big fan of him on the wing, and I think if Mike Brown is fit, Mike Brown starts as fullback.
If Mike Brown say isn't fit, and obviously did play Anthony Watson fullback, who would you bring onto the other wing? It was in the squad.
There's talk of Denny Solomona starting at the moment. If Mike Brown isn't fit, Watson probably at fullback and Solomona on the wing, and I'd be happy with that. I like seeing those kind of players come through. I'll be happy to see that. But I'm hoping Mike Brown's fit. Whenever I've seen Mike Brown play as a non-passionate rugby fan, he's been good for England. He's someone I've always relied on. So I'd like to see him play. Again, I could be completely wrong. Do tell me how wrong that is. But that's what I would go with anyway.
So you're confident? Do you think England win the Six Nations again for the third year running?
I think so. I think there's been nothing to suggest that things have changed.
Ireland looks strong, to be fair.
Ireland do look strong, but Eddie Jones has been consistently good with his teams and the way he plays. And I don't, with the likes of France and Italy, I don't see an awful lot of competition. Wales and Scotland are ones that, especially Scotland in the last couple of years, have become more of a challenge than they were before. Wales are obviously always going to be a tough game, and Ireland are a good side as well. So I think there's definitely competition there, but I'm confident England can still do the job as long as they apply themselves as they should do.
Obviously, the good thing for you is you have Italy up first, which should never know, should be a victory for you.
Yeah, you hope it's a banker where you can get some points on the board.
Obviously, with us, we have a much more difficult start with Scotland. Obviously, in the autumn they were exceptional. They obviously beat Australia comfortably. They should have beat New Zealand.
That is one of the issues. They are getting an awful lot better in recent years.
Their backline is really good. They could compete with probably any of the backlines in the Six Nations. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes against Scotland. I think it's going to be a really close game. As I said, both teams got a lot of injuries, especially them in the park, and that's all around the park really. We've got a lot of injuries. Obviously Liam Williams out now as well. Bigger Webb, not Faltao, sorry. So we've got so many injuries, but so have they in the front row. So it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a close game, and whoever wins that first game could go on to challenge England or Ireland for the title, depending on who.
I'm looking forward to it. Even as someone who can't name you half the Welsh squad or whatever, it's great fun. It's one of those sports where you can with a couple of mates, and it's really good to just sit around with a couple of beers and really enjoy it. Rugby is such a good sport, I think, in that sense that it's really enjoyable watching, and I'm looking forward to it. Especially looking forward to rubbing it in your face when we inevitably beat you.
I'd love it if we beat you. Just coming back out confidently. You said it now on camera, so
I'd love it if we beat you.
You said it now on camera, so
yeah, well,
hopefully I'll come back and on to, but we'll see.
I'm man enough to take it if I'm wrong, but I won't be wrong, so it's fine.
Well, we hope so. Do you have anything else to add?
That's about me done for this week, I think.
Yeah, pretty much the same here. As we said, any debate you want to have with us, let us know.
I will just throw in one quick thing, actually, which I was going to mention earlier on in the podcast, which I forgot, and I hope people are still listening to hear it. But massive props to Marcus down in the booth. He does an amazing job to edit and turn around the podcast as quick as he does, and does it in a certain way, which is really impressive, and we're all really proud of it. So yeah, big props to him, and yeah, that's just the actual thing I've got.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Want to wrap it up?
Yeah, definitely agree with that. As we said, if you've got any discussion with us, let us know either in the comments section down below or tweet us on Twitter.
At UTF_podcast.
Yes, it is there. All our links are in the description. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.